So now we come to the part of the evening where we want to talk about the amazing books that we've been reading and loving. So first of all, Anne, I'm hoping that you would tell us a little bit about why Bistro Cooking by Patricia Wells is your favourite book. That delicious meal that we just ate came out of this cookbook. So tell us a little bit about it.
This one was the only book we had for 6 months when we were living in a country house in France. And I was writing up a thesis, so I was stuck at home all day. We'd zap out, buy some ingredients. There was 2 cookbooks. There was an Indian cookbook, but in rural France, you couldn't get Indian ingredients to save your life. So it was French or French, and we just found these fabulous recipes. Because France is so seasonal, you could only get ingredients that were in season, and we were there in winter. So I was into all the pear recipes and the apple desserts and all these amazing recipes, and they're easy, and the gougères in particular were just... every dinner party I ever have, I just trot them out because they're kind of pastries and they make everyone think you're a fabulous pastry cook, and in fact it's almost impossible to mess it up. But the chicken and fennel recipe was one of our favourites, even as it went into sort of warmer weather, because it was lovely.
It was so delicious. It's now one of my favourite recipes.
Yeah, definitely. So we now have, I think my daughter's got a copy of this one. We take it with us everywhere. It's just kind of a definite favourite.
And so, Anne, you brought a book to show us tonight, which was a book you really enjoyed reading just recently. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Show it to us.
I can. So I actually read the first one, Sister, and kind of just had to go straight on to the next one. And of course, because I write psychological thrillers, my own one recently out, it's kind of... I like looking at the way other people do it, and it's totally different. It's totally different from how I do mine. My heroine's a forensic psychiatrist, and it's very much about the why, and it's done in a very different way. But that doesn't mean I don't enjoy authors that take me to a different place. So,
well, I think Rosamund Lupton in this book has really broken quite a few rules. You know, she's
lots of rules.
It's a really unusual thriller, really, isn't it? I loved it as well.
And I love her sense of place. I mean, I froze to death through most of the book. You don't really want to be reading it when you're in the middle of winter. It's probably better to do on a day like today.
Exactly.
It's and look, part of it was, I even thought was quite unbelievable in some of the stuff she was doing with driving the truck, but I didn't care. It was just such her passion and her need to succeed, and you were willing along.
Phobic, wasn't it? You know,
yes.
And having a child protagonist in a thriller, I've never seen that before. It was
but it was also I got very angry at the mother for putting her daughter at risk, and so it was a really interesting, and the fact that it was a deaf child, and the whole thing about the quality of silence was just beautifully done, and it was very touching, and I liked that, and it was romantic in its own way.
I'm so glad you bought this book, because it's a real favourite of mine as well.
Yeah.
What about you, Graham? What has been the best book that you read recently?
Well, I haven't been reading a lot because I've been writing, but I was one of the early readers of The Tattooist of Auschwitz.
So wanted to read that book. Is it good?
Heather Morris, good's not the right word, I think essential is the right word. Look, it's a Holocaust book based on, it's essentially a true story. I mean, the same way that Schindler's Ark was a true story. Heather Morris probably won't win any writing awards for this because she's done exactly the right thing, which is to keep herself off the page, to not let sort of literary pretensions intrude. She just tells the story as it is. But the story itself is such an important story. It doesn't follow the standard sort of Holocaust narrative, which is a bit disconcerting, I think, to read. And I wonder how the Jewish community in particular will respond to it. But look, just a really powerful book that shows you the absolute best and worst of humanity.
I'm definitely going to read it after that recommendation. Thank you.
So I have bought my favourite book as well, or not my favourite book, but the book I have read recently that I love the most. So for me, it's The Night Watch by Sarah Waters. It's a very big, thick book, but it's one of those books that is just so beautifully written that you can't put it down, you can't stop reading. It's quite a simple story. It's simply, 4 people living through the Blitz in war-torn Britain. There are 3 women and 1 young man. What's extraordinary about this book is it's actually set backwards. It's told backwards. So the last line is the beginning of the story. As such a unexpected way of structuring a book, but it works really, really powerfully. And what's really strange about it is how suspenseful it gets. Even hearing the story backwards, you're desperate to know more. So Sarah Waters is one of my favourite writers, and this I think is one of her greatest books. So that was my best read of the last few weeks. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us. And if you want to enter the draw for our giveaway, just press the subscribe button at the bottom of our YouTube channel.
And if you want to know more about our fantastic prizes for this week's episode,
Or about today's recipes,
or all about book news, views and reviews,
then just go to our website at wordofmouthtv.com.au.
see you next
See you next time.